The following program was paid for by Real Estate Radio Network. The hosts are not an employee of WMTR or its parent company, Greater Media. The views and opinions expressed on the Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio New Jersey are not necessarily those of the staff and management of WMTR. Station management has not investigated the claims made in financial service spots that may air during this program. As always, it is advisable to consult a professional before making a major financial decision. You're listening to The Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio New Jersey on 1250 AM WMTR. Now, your hosts, local credit experts, Damon DiCrescenzo and attorney Jason Kaplan.
Good morning, New Jersey. This is Jason Kaplan on the Real Estate Radio Network. We're The Credit Pros, Damon DiCrescenzo and myself. It's a beautiful Sunday morning, and let's teach you some things. Damon, say hello.
Thanks, Jason. For those who don't know, the Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio Network, we're here every Sunday between 7 to 8 a.m., and the purpose of Real Estate Radio Network and the Credit Pros, our company, is to talk about problems and solutions in our local housing, credit, and finance markets. Because within every market, there are solutions, there are problems, there are opportunities, and you need some advice, trusted advice. That's our message, and we deliver it every week. And as usual, I want to remind you that if you are listening to our program and if you have a question and want to call into our off-air line, I suggest that you give us a ring at 973-771-5118. Again, 973-771-5118. Or you could always visit us on the web at creditrepair.to.
Now, I've been talking to a lot of people who are listening to our show, clients and just listeners, and they love what we're doing here. They complain that sometimes we put too much information in a show and they can't quite keep up with us, but that's just the way me and Damon roll. And we have a great guest here today, so we're going to keep up with that trend that we have.
You know, it's important these days to understand your rights as a consumer. And a lot of times, you know that every week we talk about some of the problems that you have with debt and some of the insurmountable debt sometimes that you may face. And we're lucky and fortunate enough this week to have a guest in the studio that can speak about real-world solutions, and a specific one to problems like insurmountable debt. Scott Tanney is an attorney and particularly specializes in bankruptcy here in New Jersey. His firm, TanneyLaw.com, which is his website, and his phone number, 973-701-1776. He's an expert in bankruptcy, and he's able to speak about some of the finer points and the details that most of the people don't know out there. Thanks for joining us, Scott.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Well, give us a little bit of, and I want to dive right in because we're a little bit short on time this week and there's a lot to go through. Give us a little bit of an overview of the benefits of bankruptcy and why someone would consider it.
Well, in today's environment, it's pretty obvious why people would consider bankruptcy. You've got a situation where the housing market has dropped substantially. People that own their own homes have need of relief. People who don't own a home or are renting, many of them have been downsized. A lot of them have been laid off, lost jobs, and they need assistance. It's a funny thing, Jason. A lot of people think that you have to be broke to file for bankruptcy. You don't have to be broke. The vast majority of people who file for bankruptcy are working people. The problem and the definition of bankruptcy and insolvency is not having enough money to pay your bills. So people who find themselves short at the end of the month, it's something to think about.
You know, we try to talk about overcoming some misconceptions on this show. We definitely want to talk about overcoming some of the negative connotations that go along with the term bankruptcy. As with credit restoration or credit repair, when somebody says the word bankruptcy, oftentimes they shake in their boots. They feel that it's a scarlet letter that forever they're stamped with, that people will know, that their neighbors will know, and that they'll have to wear this forever. What is the reality, and what are some of the truths that people don't know?
Well, most of us were raised to pay the bills. So if we incur debt, we pay it because that's the thing that we're supposed to do. Today, things have, a lot of ways, things have changed. If you're unable to pay the bills, you're unable to pay the bills, and you need to protect yourself and your family.
Right.
People hear all sorts of things about bankruptcy. And just to give you an idea, in the last year in New Jersey, there are over 50,000 people who filed for bankruptcy. Nationwide, it's well over 1 million people. So
in 1 year.
In 1 year.
That's right.
And that's been every year for a number of years now.
And getting larger.
Well,
by the year.
it's getting larger because of the problems with the economy and the problems in particular with the housing market. So a lot of the stigma of bankruptcy has been lost. And as far as being tarred with this forever, it is true that it remains on your credit report for 10 years. But generally speaking, within 2 to 3 years of finishing your bankruptcy case, your credit's going to be pretty close to normal, particularly if you're working and you're paying your bills going forward.
So it's important that people know that there's going to be a problem with your credit. But after the break, a little bit later on, you'll want to stick around. We're going to talk about some of the realities of a bankruptcy and affecting your credit, some of the solutions you may have there too. One of the other things I wanted to talk about today, because Jason and I were talking about on the way here, is debt collectors and some of the egregious violations of the FDCPA. For those who don't know, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, some things that the debt collectors steps that they need to follow. And bankruptcy oftentimes gets rid of some of the problems that these debt collectors can cause.
Well, the debt collectors are not allowed to call you, period, after you've done with your bankruptcy. As a matter of fact, from the moment you retain an attorney with the intention of filing for bankruptcy, that attorney can redirect all the phone calls away from you and into his office. They're not allowed to call you once you've retained an attorney. That doesn't mean that they don't.
That's right.
But they're not allowed to, and if they do, there's recourse.
The collection agencies, and it's my personal thing, I hate collection agencies. Original creditors that are trying to collect on a debt, I can understand. But collection agencies, in my opinion, are the scum of the earth. I know for a fact that collection agencies turned a blind eye to any bankruptcy state. And they'll call. Not only will they call, I just recently read an article about a group that is buying BK debt, bankruptcy debt, and calling anyway, and dealing with the fallout from it.
It's a big problem. In fact, there's a Consumer Bankruptcy Association that has a conference every year. In fact, it's coming up in April in Washington, D.C., and they addressed it last year. This is illegal. These companies are taking discharged bankruptcy debt, selling it to other companies, sometimes for less than a penny on the dollar. You owe somebody $1,000, you discharge it in bankruptcy. Somebody else buys that debt illegally, essentially, for maybe $5, and then they come after you for $1,000.
Yeah, not only is it illegal, I think it's unethical. I think that it's kicking people when they're down, and it's malicious because they know full well that these people have gone through a difficult time in their life, and they're really trying to put them through the ringer.
They don't care. I mean, they're making a buck. That's all they care about.
Yeah, they don't mind. It's kind of like the scams. Not only when they call people after the statute of limitations passed. I had a client call in this week, and they got a collection call from a debt they owed from 1978.
That annoys me.
That was still on their report.
That really annoys me.
A debt from 1978, aside, regardless of whether you file for bankruptcy, is past the statute of limitations. They have no legal leg to stand on to try and collect that money.
Absolutely.
And let me just say this for any of people that are listening that have filed for bankruptcy. If you've been hit with collection for stuff that was discharged in your bankruptcy, call your lawyer, because not only do you have recourse, there may be some money in it for you at the end of the day.
Well, let me ask you this question then, because we get a lot of people that call with the bankruptcy problems. I have clients that will call up and say, I declared a bankruptcy at a Chapter 7 that was discharged a couple years ago, and I have a debt for a couple $100, for a few $100 here and there, and I'm getting calls from the creditors, and I thought it was included in the bankruptcy. What should they do?
Did it turn out not to be in the bankruptcy?
Well, they're not really sure. They just know that they told their attorney about it, and they say they told their attorney about it, and they claim it just wasn't filed properly, or they don't even know if it is.
Well, the first thing is to go back look at your bankruptcy petition and see if the creditor is listed. If the creditor is listed, you let the creditor know and tell them to back off. If they don't listen, you have to go back to your old attorney or get another attorney to work on it for you. They can't come after you legally. Like we've said before, that doesn't mean they won't, but there are things that you can do to take care of the problem. If the debt was left off the petition, this is going to vary from state to state. In New Jersey, there's an appellate court decision which states that if you filed a Chapter 7 and there was no money distributed to creditors, and a creditor comes back at you that wasn't on the petition, it doesn't matter. That debt was discharged because since nobody got any money, there's no loss to that creditor for not having been in the case. Having said that, if they give you a hard time, I hate to keep saying go back to your lawyer, but that's really what you need to do.
It's important to establish a good relationship. You're listening. If you're just joining us, this is the Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio. I want to thank you very much. This is a wonderful Sunday morning, and you're really in luck because we're getting some wonderful real-world bankruptcy information from attorney Scott Tanney. His law firm is the Law Office of Scott Tanney, and his phone number is 973-701-1776. Again, you'll want to get a pen and write that down. It's 973-701-1776, or on the web at tannylaw.com, TANNELAW.com. I just want to reiterate what you said, and I think that that's a common misconception out there that people have. In a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, if your attorney forgot or you forgot to add a creditor on there, or one of these creditors crawls out of the woodwork, as they often do, there's a way to be able to fix that problem.
If you're still in the case and it turns out that there was no creditor, that the creditor was not part of the petition, the safest thing is to add the creditor. I'll tell you a quick story. Several years ago, I had a client that filed for bankruptcy. She was due to get her discharge within a matter of days. She called me up in a panic. It turns out that she had her mother was in a nursing home, and she had co-signed to be responsible for any charges that the nursing home had. This was several years ago that her mother passed away. The nursing home called her up, $96,000 you owe us. Well, we jumped in, we added the creditor, we noticed the nursing home, and that was it. 3 days later, she got her discharge, including the nursing home.
As is her right.
As is her right.
So I think that that's awesome. I think, a lot of people don't understand, and maybe we'll jump into this quickly. And Jason and I talked about it last week, the idea of when you should declare bankruptcy. I'm of the opinion, and I'm not an attorney, but I know that I talk with people every day that are credit challenged, that are that are drowning in debt. I'm of the opinion that if you can't pay your bills and it's keeping you up at night, and you're freaking out, and instead of focusing on your wallet and your family and your life and your loved ones, you're worrying about the debt that's hanging over your head, then perhaps that is the right answer for you.
Jason, you're exactly right. And when most people think of bankruptcy or think they have to be flat broke. You don't have to be broke to file for bankruptcy. As I said before, most of our clients, not just most, 95% of our clients are working or have income. You think about filing for bankruptcy when you can't pay your bills, and that's the true definition of bankruptcy: not having enough cash flow to meet your obligations. And right. That's the point in time where you start to think about it.
Well, let me ask you a question. Chapter 7, for those of you who don't know, is a total discharge of all debts personally, and then there's a Chapter 13, which is a reorganization of your finances. What considerations do you as an attorney or do the courts take into consideration to determine whether a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13 is something that should be pursued?
That's a great question, Jason, because the different chapters have different objectives. And to a large degree, it's determined by what the client wants, particularly if they own a house and particularly if they're behind on a mortgage or maybe trying to get a loan modification on that mortgage. If you're trying to get a loan modification on a mortgage, bankruptcy can be a really powerful tool. It can pretty much upend the whole relationship between you and the mortgage company. You can't guarantee a loan modification, but we can put you in a much stronger position to get a loan modification through the use of bankruptcy.
Do people use bankruptcy as a I hate to use the term, but a stall tactic to prevent the foreclosure process from proceeding?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So they can use bankruptcy if they know that they're walking down this road. They can use this to keep themselves in the home for an extended period of time.
Well, it can be. Well, I don't know that you would use it specifically to stay in the home for an extended period of time. You would you might use it in order to position yourself. I'm going to say again, to get a loan modification or in the hopes of getting more income in, which would allow you to cure the problem with the home. And that goes back to Jason,
Damon.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Jason's original question about the difference between Chapter 7 and a 13. If you're trying to fix a problem with a house, typically you're going to use a Chapter 13 because that's going to stop the foreclosure and give you an opportunity to fix problems with the mortgage. A Chapter 7 it's a liquidation, but it's not. You don't in a Chapter 7 you don't lose any assets unless you want to lose them. For example, you have a car you don't want, or you want to get out from under a mortgage. In today's environment, you could have a house that's worth $200,000 but owe $300,000 on that house. Well, Chapter 7 gets you out from under the obligation to pay the mortgage. It will not stop the mortgage company from foreclosing, and eventually you may lose the house, but you're not on the hook for the difference between what the house is worth and what you owe on the house.
When we come back, I want to ask you a couple of questions in regards to what happens to the vehicle. Yeah, what happens to the house? And because I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about that too. Also, when we come back after the break, we're going to talk about some famous people that have declared bankruptcy. You're not going to believe it. It's going to surprise you. You're going to want to find out who these people are. Also, after the break, some credit true or false, and some awesome credit tips from attorney Jason Kaplan.
And you guys are going to love this, but the FCC and the U.S. government is stepping in, so collection companies might be a little more limited in how they can contact you and how they can bother you. So we'll talk about that as well.
Find out after the break. You're listening to the Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio Network. Our number is 973-771-5118. Give us a call on our off-air line. Again, 973-771-5118, or visit us on the web at creditrepair.to. Stick around after the break.
For all your credit problems, concerns, or questions, call the show's off-air number at 973-771-5118 and speak to the hosts of the show, Damon DiCrescenzo and attorney Jason Kaplan, directly. 973-771-5118. This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Hello, Jason Kaplan here, host of the Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio New Jersey. I'm thrilled that I get to speak to you every week and bring you the truths about your credit. A lot of stuff you hear in the news is just flat out wrong. If you want the inside knowledge about what's going on with your credit, that's what I'm here for. Give me a call at 973-771-5118. That's 973-771-5118. Whether you're looking to buy a home, get a job, apply for car insurance, your credit's the most important factor in these decisions. I can help you make an educated decision about what's going on and what's best for you and your family. It's easy. I give you the real facts and you decide what to do from there. Just give me a call. I'm here to help. 973-771-5118. That's 973-771-5118. Or visit us online at creditrepair.to. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back from the break soon.
Jason, tell me what the Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio New Jersey is all about.
We're helping to dispel all the myths and misconceptions about credit. Myself and my partner, Damon DiCrescenzo, are certified credit counselors and credit experts. I'm an attorney, and what we do is we help you understand what goes into making a credit score, how the negative items impact your credit score, how the lack of positive items can also impact your score. There are so many parts to the Fair Isaac credit scoring model that people don't understand. I'm here to unlock those keys.
So what are some of the things you're helping the people of New Jersey accomplish with their credit?
Well, when it comes to doing anything in your life, buying a car, getting insurance, getting a job, passing security clearance if you're in the military, everything comes down to your credit score. So what happens is if people are not watching their credit score, if they don't know how to solve the problems that they're facing with their credit, they're going to have issues. So we need to help them deal with all of these issues.
So who out there listening right now should call you today?
Anyone that looks for a job, that's living and breathing out there in New Jersey. What happens is credit scores affect everything like I just mentioned. So if you're concerned, confused, if you have a particular question about a particular circumstance, just give me and Damon a call. Our number is 973-771-5118.
It's just that simple. If you want the free credit advice in New Jersey, call attorney Jason Kaplan and the Credit Pros right now at 973-771-5118. That's 973-771-5118. For all your credit problems, concerns, or questions, call the show's off-air number at 973-771-5118 and speak to the hosts of the show, Damon DiCrescenzo and attorney Jason Kaplan directly. 973-771-5118.